Osalugbe. Yeah. Welcome and greetings. Baba mi, Ashwaju relax. Mo ṣe bá Juni lọ. Baba ní kí no class today. Nini Monday now. Nini Monday bá mi. Ọjọ́ Wednesdays àti Saturdays la máa ń ṣe class. Kálẹ̀ ti register bá ti mọ̀ bá ti gba course materials tá send out lọ́jọ́ ní weekend now. Okay, màá kàn sí ní ẹ̀ǹkùlé àjọsọ lẹ́yìn aṣọ bá mi. Ṣé dáadáa ni o mo ṣe bá Juni lọ o? So yeah, lórí ètò tòní, today's program we're going to be looking at something a little bit different today. So eléyìí máa wà ní abẹ́ àwọn ètò tá ti ń ṣe nípa politics. But we've had to put those aside temporarily recently. Recently, I think focus lórí other matters like, ilé ẹ̀kọ́ Yorùbá àti ìṣẹ̀ṣe ni focus ti wà recently. But mo ní pé this is like a slide tí mo ti prepare ti pé mo wá ní kí n máa as well come and ká bá sọ ọ̀rọ̀ yìí lénìí. Torí pé ní inú ìwádìí ó ti fi àpẹẹrẹ hàn wípé bí wọ́n ṣe ro ẹjọ́ bàbá yìí kọ́ ni ó ṣe rí fún ẹni tí ó bá really ṣe ìwádìí yẹn. For those who are who have done the research about Sani Abacha. Sani Abacha's story is a bit like Idi Amin. Gbogbo wa la mọ̀ Idi Amin. Ìyá mi Queen NBA mo ṣe bá Juni lọ. Thanks for the gift. Thanks for the gift. Much appreciated. Baba mi Aṣíwájú relax. Yeah, thank you for for everything as well. So ètò títòní it's like it was only after seeing a few patterns and doing the research ló wá jẹ́ kémi náà realize àwọn nǹkan kan nípa bàbá yìí. Torí pé bí wọ́n ṣe pa ìtàn yẹn, it is not 100% accurate. Ó ní àwọn nǹkan kan tí ò make sense nínú bó ṣe pa ìtàn bàbá yẹn. So ló wá jẹ́ kémi náà lọ ṣe àwọn ìwádìí kan. Àwọn ìwádìí yẹn ló wá ń fi àpẹẹrẹ wọn pé bó ṣe ro ẹjọ́ bàbá yìí kọ́ ló ṣe rí gangan. So the way his history was told is not accurate. Bàbá mi ọmọ Oòduà mo ṣe bá Juni lọ o. Mo ṣe bá kábíyèsí bàbá àbọ̀rọ̀ àbọ̀yè o. Welcome on board. The program is a bit different today, but I think it's going to be useful for everyone. Just offering a different perspective. Ìyá mi Queen NBA mo ṣe bá Juni lọ. Ẹ ṣeun fún ice cream yẹn o. Kò ní tán níbi tẹ́sí mu lágbára Èdùmàrè, ọwọ́ yẹn á máa ròkè ni o. Bàbá mi ọmọ mi, thanks for the repost. So yeah, for everyone coming in, please share the live and power tab. Share the live and power tab. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́, so that a lè tètè tẹ ètò yìí síwájú. Mo ò fẹ́ jẹ́ kí ètò yìí gba too much time. Mo ò fẹ́ kó jẹ́ kó gba too much time. So it's going to be rapid, it's going to be fast. But a fẹ́ kó lọ, a fẹ́ kó sharp. A dẹ̀ bẹ̀rẹ̀ pẹ̀lú orúkọ Olódùmarè, ọba atẹ́rẹrẹ kárí ayé, ọba àjíkí, ọba àjípè. Àṣèbà rẹ lónìí o, àṣèbà akọ́dà, àṣèbà àṣẹ̀dá, àṣèbà àwọn onílẹ̀, àṣèbà àwọn ìyàmí ẹyẹ òṣòròǹgà, ẹyẹ bàgẹ̀bàgẹ̀, ọ̀pàkẹ́ ọ̀làkẹ́, àṣèbà yín o, àṣèbà àwọn tó nílẹ̀, àṣèbà ará iwájú, àṣèbà ẹ̀yìn, àṣèbà ọmọdé, àṣèbà àgbà, àdẹ̀ṣèbà àwọn bàbá àti àwọn ìyá. Kí ètò tòní kó lọ gégé, kí a ṣe ní àṣeyè, ní àṣeyọrí àti àṣe ìṣẹ́gun. Yeah, this is Oríire M.Bravo. Oríire M.Bravo on behalf of our sponsors, Yorùbá Ronú Publishing. Yorùbá Ronú Publishing ló sponsor ètò tòní yìí. So yeah, today's program we're going to be looking at the narrative around the late General Sani Abacha. We're going to be looking at it from a slightly different viewpoint, from a slightly different angle. We all know about the narrative. Gbogbo wa la ti gbọ́ nǹkan tó sọ nípa bàbá yẹn ìgbà tí bàbá yẹn kú tán. Even kí bàbá tiẹ̀ tó kú gan, a mọ nǹkan tó ṣẹlẹ̀ lórí under his ruling. Táwọn èèyàn máa ń sọ. But is the story, is it fully the way that it's been told in the press? Or are there other perspectives about his, who General Sani Abacha was and how we ruled? Are there other narrative? Are there other perspectives? What are the things that people are not talking about? Was he judged fairly after his untimely demise? Nígbà tó pa ipò dà. Okay, everybody knows the dead man doesn't tell stories, right? The dead man don't speak. So ẹni tó bá wà láàyè ló máa lọ gbèjà ara ẹ̀ ló máa lè sọ pé nǹkan tẹ́ sọ yẹn kò rí bẹ́ẹ̀ o, irọ́ ló pa mọ́ mi o. That's only affordable and available to the living. But when you die, anything could be written and said about you. Okay, especially when it's being written and said about very powerful people. So which is why, one of my motivations, I noticed a few things. For those who have been paying attention, thanks for the repost, Yami Queen MBA. Thanks for the repost. For everyone coming in, please repost the live and Power Tap as we're going through this. Much appreciated. Shake Biragao. So yeah, ètò tòní a máa ní láti tẹ̀síwájú ní nílé dúró sí everybody because I've got a time box. I've got a limited time to do this. So òkú ò kì í sọ̀rọ̀, òkú òdẹ̀ kì í pariwo. Gbogbo wa la mọ̀ yẹn o. So when it comes to narratives, when it comes to fighting for your right and cleaning your name, cleaning up your name, cleaning up your reputation, and offering your own perspective, your own viewpoint about something that's been written and said about you, you can only do that when you are above ground. You can only do that when you are amongst the living. The dead can't speak. Okay? So, and what was my motivation? Something became clear to me recently. I think it was last year when a few videos started hitting the social media about Idi Amin. So a few videos started hitting the social media about Idi Amin last year. And I was able to listen to him and I was able to hear what he was saying. So, but when I heard what he was saying, then I decided, I'm like, because everybody, we all know how the picture of Idi Amin that's been told to the world. We know about how he was portrayed as a barbaric dictator, as a person who basically consumed human flesh. Okay, we all know about how he was portrayed as a wicked, evil man. But last year, when I started seeing some of his publications hitting the social media last year, it made me think. I started thinking about, okay, what's going on here? That's not what I knew about this guy. The way he was portrayed in the media was telling a completely different story. But when I saw a few video clips of Idi Amin coming out and making some certain statements and saying certain things that I know to be true today, I was compelled to do a bit of research about him. I was compelled to look into it a bit more, to not go with the popular narrative. Bàbá mi ò ní yìí mo ṣe bá jí lọ àbọ̀rọ̀ àbọ̀yè sà. Àbọ̀rọ̀ àbọ̀yè dà kí bàbá ṣì wà ń bíṣẹ́ mo ṣe bá jí lọ ẹ ṣeun tẹ join wá lè ní mo mọ̀ lóore o. So yeah, for those who are just coming in, please power tap and share the live. So yeah. Ẹ ṣeun bá mi, ẹ ṣeun bá mi.
Bàbá mi ẹ̀dọ̀ bravo mo ṣe bá yín bàbá mi.
Ẹ ṣeun bá mi, mo mọ̀ lóore o, ẹ ṣeun tẹ wà pẹ̀lú wa lónìí, Èdùmàrè á wà pẹ̀lú yín o. Ẹ ṣeun. So yeah. So nígbà tí mo wá rí àwọn fídíò Idi Amin yẹn, àwọn nǹkan tó ń sọ, some of his speeches, some of his things that we never saw before started coming online, started getting released into the social media last year. It made me think. And that thought process led me into doing a bit of research. So ti yẹn gbogbo alamọ nǹkan tó ti sọ nípa Idi Amin now. Ẹ ṣeun bá mi. Gbogbo alamọ nǹkan tó sọ nípa Idi Amin, but some of the videos that I saw last year, some of the the video of him actually speaking. Ló wá jẹ́ kó yé mi pé this guy is very intelligent. He was actually very articulate. And he seems to be somebody who was passionate about his people. He was passionate about his nation, and he was very, very dedicated to fighting for his nation's freedom, economic freedom. And he wasn't bowing to the European bullies. He wasn't bowing to them. So when I did a bit of research about Idi Amin, then I realized, like, wow, this guy was basically a subject or victim of propaganda. That was when I realized it. Like, wow, Idi Amin was a proper leader. He was a proper leader. You know, when I done the research and I saw a lot of things, I'm like, wow. I saw his policies. I saw what he was fighting for. I was able to do a research and I've discovered a lot of the things that he was trying to put in place. He was trying to put in place in his own country. He didn't allow corruption. He basically prosecuted all the corrupt oligarchs within his own system, within his own country. He was prosecuting them. He was making it difficult for people who have been eating off the land, off the country, who have been siphoning funds out of the economy. It made it hard and very difficult for them to eat. He also made it very difficult for foreign corporations who are basically vultures preying on African economies. He was giving them hell, not giving them hell in a barbaric sense, but he was just saying, no, we need fair deals. We need fair deals for our resources. If you're going to come into our country and take our resources, it has to be fair. We have to profit. We have to profit from it as well. Yes, we'll allow you to come in, but you have to be coming in to come and trade with us. Not to come and bully us and take what's ours and take it over there to your own country and becoming wealthy while living the country who's actually producing those materials, who's actually producing those resources and leaving them impoverished. You said, just like Gaddafi. That's what we are about to discover about this man. So after I finished doing the research about Idi Amin last year, that was when I really began to realize, like, wow, this guy is completely different from the way he was portrayed to the world. I remember as a child watching a movie which was portrayed and it seemed real. It was like a documentary which was showing Idi Amin going around killing people, eating people. But I thought it was real. I thought that was real. I thought it was a real life documentary. But it was only after growing up that I realized that was actually a film. That was like a Hollywood scripted movie. But we all believed it. And I bet there are still people out there who believed it till this day that Idi Amin was a cannibal. Okay, so today's program is not about Idi Amin. It's basically about General Sani Abacha. But it was out of understanding, out of discovering the truth about Idi Amin, which motivated me to do a bit of research about General Sani Abacha as well. And what the research revealed might shock some people. It might be controversial to some people because we know there's an already established narrative out there. Gbogbo ilé ẹjọ́ bá mi power tap ẹ bá mi share ẹjọ́. Ẹjọ́ bá mi power tap kẹ bá mi share gbogbo ilé. Mo ṣe bá jù ní lọ. Gbogbo wa la mọ̀ pé there are already narratives out there. So this research and the findings will definitely challenge the popular narrative. Àwa tá ti fojú ìkà, ojú aláìdá, ojú ọ̀daràn wo Abacha. Tabari nǹkan tá máa wò lénìí, ó lè change perspective yín díẹ̀. Bàbá mi ò mí níyì mo ṣe bá jù ní lọ.
Bàbá mi, mo fi ń pa táàpù mi kò ṣó lọ́dọ̀ mi.
Èmi ò mọ̀ nǹkan tó ṣẹlẹ̀
mo fẹ́ pa táàpù mi rí pa táàpù mi nǹkan tó ṣẹlẹ̀.
Èmi náà rí pé ó kàn dúró sí 1 point.
Ẹ jẹ́ kí n jáde kí n padà wọlé.
Okay then, ẹ ṣeun bá mi. Ẹ padà wọlé.
Bàbá mi ẹ
ṣeun. Bàbá mi Àbáyọ̀ dollars. Thanks for the sharing. Mo mọ̀ lóore ẹ ṣeun. Baba Alaroye MC. Abacha was a good man, good president as well, but a lot of people wouldn't agree with that. But we are about to look at the facts A lot of people would not agree with you. I agree, but let's go through the information and then why don't we let the facts decide what type of man he was? So let's dive into it. So today's program is Sani Abacha, the late General Sani Abacha. Was he a misunderstood visionary, or were the critics justified? Okay, so this program is designed to provide an alternative perspective on on Abacha, is push for economic sovereignty, and obviously looking at the propaganda that was pushed after he passed on, after he was murdered, and obviously looking at what's the motivation behind that propaganda and who were the hidden hands manipulating things behind the scenes. So who were the hidden hands manipulating narratives, manipulating things behind the scenes? So that's what we're going to be looking at, okay? Okay, so the key question, Tamama Birawa, the quick key question we're going to be asking ourselves is, if foreign reserves, I'm not sure if a lot of people are aware of it, but you will be aware after this program, if foreign reserves under Abacha grew significantly, foreign reserves, which is one of the economic markers. If you want to measure an economy, if you want to measure the performance of an economy, or the performance of a leader, of a leadership within a country, one of the signs and one of the markers that you use for measuring it is what? Is the foreign reserves. And it's been like that for a very long time. This is nothing new. So yeah, it's been like that for a very long time. This didn't start with Abacha. Okay, that's one of the ways that economists measure a president's performance or country's performance is what? Measuring the foreign reserves is one of the things that they use to measure the performance of a government. Okay, so under Abacha, data shows that foreign reserves, the Nigerian foreign reserves, actually grew significantly under Abacha. Actually grew significantly under his leadership. If that's the case, then why are offshore funds automatically labeled as stolen billions instead of sovereign reserves? Because the idea behind the foreign reserve is that you have a country has funds outside of their economy. It means how much of money you have stored away outside of what you're using to run your country, outside of what you're using to run your economy. I can give you a bit of an idea as well. Another idea is, if we look at credit rating, even at an individual level, when credit companies, let's say you want to buy a house and you need a mortgage and you approach a bank, one of the things that they use to measure your financial capability and your financial credibility is the amount of liquid cash, that you have stored away, the amount of savings that you have, that you've accumulated. Because when somebody has savings, money that they don't touch, that they've got stored away somewhere, it's an indication that that person is financially stable, financially comfortable. It's the same way at the national level. When a country has a lot of foreign reserves, it gives an indication that they are comfortable, that they are not in a struggling economy. It means, nínú Yorùbá, oyemi pé wọ́n ní àjẹṣẹ́kù. Torí pé there is different having money within your economy and you have a healthy economy where, there is money flowing within the economy. That's different. But when a country can then have money stored away, that we don't even need this amount of these funds, these extra funds. We don't need it to manage our economy. We don't need these extra funds to stay afloat. We can actually save it away. That's one of the key economic indicators with which a country's performance is measured. And data shows that under Abacha's ruling, the Nigerian foreign reserves grew significantly. We are going to look at the data shortly, okay? But during his tenure as the president, those economic markers were applauded, okay, by the foreign bankers and the international institutions and obviously the world economy, the World Bank, the IMF. They were applauding it, saying, Abacha, well done, well done. So how come after he passed, the same foreign reserves which he was applauded for, then became this money Abacha stole for himself. It's not the nation's foreign reserves. Why did that narrative change immediately after he passed away? We're going to look into that in a bit more detail. So Esheun Gbogbole, thanks for joining. For those who are with us, everyone, please power tap and share the live. We are going to be accelerating through this program today. I don't want it to take too long. Okay, I don't want it to take too long. And obviously, the program would move a lot faster if I don't have to keep reminding people to power tap and share. If I can just concentrate on going through the presentation, I think it would be a lot more efficient in that way. More efficient. Please, repost it, share it as we're going. Okay? So this is the question that we need to be thinking about. Okay? If foreign reserves, and I'm going to prove that with some real facts, some real data, if foreign reserves could be proven to grow significantly under Abacha, then why are offshore funds, okay, and automatically labeled as stolen billions after he passed away? Okay, we are going to look at that. Okay, but what does that tell us? It tells us that there are double standards, and we're going to prove the double standards shortly. Okay. So Western nations also hold offshore sovereign wealth. Okay, it is seen as prudent when they do it. It's cool when they do it. You know what I'm saying? So Abacha did not invent the idea of a country that's prospering, that's doing well economically, putting some money away as foreign reserves. Abacha did not invent this. So when Western nations hold offshore sovereign funds, sovereign wealth, why is that seen as prudent? Why is it applauded? Okay? But when some African presidents do it, it is seen as embezzlement. Okay? We're going to be looking at that. And there are some examples here. For instance, Norway's oil fund, okay, I think it's called NOI or something like that, is an example of an economy which is basically promoting developing sovereign funds offshore. Iyami Queen MBA Mushiba Junilo Aboru Aboye. Thanks for joining us. Ẹ káàbọ̀ Iyami ṣé dáadáa ni.
Maybe mo kí yín o, mo ṣe bá dín ní lọ ìyá mi o.
Ẹ power tab.
Okay, everyone, please power tap. I can only hear myself.
Ẹ power tab to the network.
Gbogbo ilé ẹjọ́ bá wa power tap. Ẹ má jẹ́ kí TikTok já wa bọ́ o. Mo ṣe bá jú ní lọ ẹjọ́ bá wa power tap. Okay, thank you, Yami. Ẹ káàbọ̀. So yeah, so countries like Norway's oil fund or even Saudi's PIF is considered smart macroeconomic management. Abacha's offshore funds is called loot. despite Nigeria's reserves growing 10 times under his rule. So our foreign reserves went from 494 million in 1993 before he came into power to growing to nearly $10 billion in 1998. What does that indicate? That indicates an economy that was booming. It means the economy was doing so well, the nation could afford to have foreign reserves, literally like, multiplying 10 times during his short tenure as president of Nigeria. Okay? During that short period of his ruling, that's how much economic growth that Nigeria experienced. But this is a fact which may surprise a lot of people, because they don't tell this story like this, do they? I bet many people have never even heard this before. Ẹ ṣeun bá mi, mo ṣe bá Júnilọ, bàbá mi ọmọọba Ọlájùwọ̀n, ṣé dáadáa ní sà, kábíyèsí bàbá.
máa lọ kẹ́tọ̀ máa lọ kò nídìí kí n break ẹ̀ mo enjoy yín sir.
Ẹ ṣeun bá
gbogbo
mi.
lé ló enjoy yín.
Ẹ ṣeun bá mi. Ẹ ṣeun tẹ́ wà pẹ̀lú wa lónìí. So yeah, but a lot of people have probably never heard this before. That Nigeria's economy, our foreign reserves grew 10 times under the ruling of Abacha. Okay? When he took over, it was what? $494 million. That was all we had in our foreign reserve. Okay? In our foreign reserves, we only have 494 billion, but million rather, in 1993. But he developed it to nearly 10 billion by 1998. Okay, so what does that tell us? It means Abacha's tenure was healthy for our economy. Okay? It was healthy for our economy, wasn't it? Because he only came into power in 1993. And by the time of his untimely demise in 1998, our economy had grown significantly. Our foreign reserves had grown to 10 billion in 1998. That's in less than 5 years. Okay? Nigeria also during that period had no significant external debt because he refused to borrow money from the IMF. He was working towards, his policy was about reducing the amount of debt in order for our currency to have value, reducing the amount of debt, as well as increasing the foreign reserves. Okay, during his reign, Nigeria had no significant external debt because he didn't borrow more money, and that's very rare. For those who know the history of Nigeria, as soon as the president comes in, one of the first things they do is they borrow money. Okay, they sell more of the country, they sell it to borrow money. That's one of the things that they do. He didn't do that. Oil prices were moderate during his tenure, not booming, but oil prices were moderate, suggesting tight fiscal control. His economic philosophies were very, very much controlling spending. Okay? Controlling spending and only investing in things which can bring high return for the country. That was his philosophy. Okay? No luxury estates or yachts were tied directly to him. Okay? And and also Western banks which held the foreign reserves held these accounts silently. Of course they would. Of course they would, because this is a nation's wealth. If somebody asked me today, Norway and Saudi Arabia's foreign reserve, where are they stored? I could not answer you. I could not answer that question, because clearly that's a matter of national security. Okay, so I don't know that. So you have to ask ourselves, so why the assumption of theft? Especially when the funds were not traced directly to luxury estates or yachts. And there was no proof of Abacha spending frivolously on himself or his friends. There was no proof of anything like that to show that, oh, this guy is spending the nation's wealth. He was actually very, very strict with himself and his ministers. But that's not the way the story is told, is it? That's not what we heard about Abacha, was it? But we're going to show a different perspective today. The same Western banks who held the funds never flagged them as criminal proceeds until after his death. The same foreign country who held the foreign reserves never flagged it as criminal proceeds because they know it's really the nation's wealth, okay? The nation's foreign reserves, they were kept as foreign reserves, not as individual wealth, not as his own personal wealth. And the same foreign banks, the Western banks, who then flagged them as criminal proceeds only after his death. So what does that tell us? Anybody can hear something is not adding up, right? Something is not adding up if you really consider those facts. Something is not adding up, and hence my motivation to look a little bit deeper. To look beyond the obvious, okay? So what does that tell us about the Western banks? It means there is foreign complicity. Western banks, especially in Switzerland, UK, Jersey, and Luxembourg, held these funds for years and only began returning them even after Abacha passed away. And they started claiming that he stole all those money for himself, that the money was not, were not being saved as foreign reserves for Nigeria, for the country. But even after they made those declarations, they were then refusing to give the money back to Nigeria. Okay, you are saying Abacha stole the money, right? That this money is not the foreign reserve of the nation. Okay, if that's the case, give it back to the nation then. Give it back to the country then. The same Western banks who were telling us that Abacha stole those funds were refusing to give the funds back to Nigeria. Okay? Until they started getting pressured by international watchdogs. Public opinion started growing, demanding action. And Nigeria had to push them legally for repatriation. Nigeria literally had to go and sue those foreign banks in order to be able to get the money back. Again, which further proves that something is not right about the narrative. Something is not adding up. So let's dig a little deeper then. You have to ask yourself then, why weren't these funds flagged earlier? If they were stolen funds in the billions, nobody can steal £1 billion and transfer it to a Western bank without getting noticed. Nobody can do that kind of job under the radar. Okay, no one. So what does that tell us? It tells us that the strength of our economy internally under Abacha was very healthy, was very strong. Nigeria was experiencing economic growth under his ruling. So that's internally. Also externally, Nigeria had grown its foreign reserve 10 times more than he walked into when he took over the office. Okay? So if they were obviously stolen, then why weren't Swiss bankers jailed? Because there is no way a president could steal that amount of money from one country and another country who were helping him to hide the stolen money. There has to be accountability on both sides of the fence. So when he was then when he was revealed that he stole all that money, then what about the people who helped him keep it? Because that means those people were helping were holding illegal funds, right? Holding stolen funds. Then why did none of them went to jail for it? Why were Abacha's accounts not frozen during his lifetime if he was stealing that amount of money? So these are the questions we have to ask ourselves. Okay. So now let's have a look at the narrative very quickly. Thank you, everyone. As you're coming in, please power tap and share the live. Please power tap and share the live. This is going. We're going to keep this show, as crisp as possible. It's not going to be a long one today. It's not going to be a long one. So let's make it as efficient as possible. Okay. So why was it framed as theft? Also, there was lack of transparency. You see, Nigeria had to sue them, had to sue those banks in order to be able to to get the money returned. They had to sue those banks in international court. Okay, and also funds not routed through central banks, they were used as proxies. So there was lack of transparency to begin with. And also, after he passed away, like I said earlier, the dead man cannot speak. Okay? When you silence a man permanently, those kind of men, they don't have the luxury of being able to clear their names and being able to clear their names and straighten up the narrative that's been pushed around about them. They don't have that luxury. Ẹni tó wà lórí ilẹ̀ ayé yìí ló máa ń sọ̀rọ̀ tó kó kì í sọ̀rọ̀. Ṣó ti yé yín? Also, there is a narrative, or there is evidence of, obviously, when he passed away, Obasanjo came into power shortly afterwards, and they were saying Obasanjo needed to clean the house. So he went along with that narrative because he wanted to have a clean sweep of the house so that he can bring his own people into power. Okay? And not leave anybody who's associated with Abacha. They had to clear them out. Okay? So, like I said earlier, there was banking complicity because Western banks enabled it, and Abacha is not the only person to walk towards developing foreign reserves for his own nation. Because foreign reserves is one of the criteria with which a country's economy is judged. Tabafe economy. In order for a country's currency to have value, to have good ranking, good rating, foreign reserves is one of the criteria that they watch. Okay? Western banks enabled it, only flagged it as stolen funds after his death. Why? Nigeria under Abacha. Now let's look at some economic snapshots. This is some real verifiable data. Okay, when he came into power in 1993, we only had foreign reserves of 494 million. Okay, and how come the 494 million was not classified as stolen funds? Okay, under the previous administration, but under his reign, under his ruling, the foreign reserves for Nigeria grew to 9.6 billion. Okay, which means he increased it 10 times. External debt, there was no new IMF or Eurobond borrowing. Like I said earlier, his policy was about reducing the amount of borrowing, actually reducing the amount of money that the country owes to external corporations. He refused to take any new loans, and he was actually working towards removing our debt. He reduced it significantly. Okay, and also during his reign, the foreign exchange rate 22 naira would give you $25. Did you know that? Did you know that? This was just in 1998. 1998 is not a long time ago, you know. If you look at the state of our currency now, you would think it's been like that forever, wouldn't you? If you look at the state of Nigerian economy now, and somebody told you, did you know in 1998, just 1998, 22 naira equaled $25? But no one talks about these things, do they? Because if these facts were to be reviewed, you will start to look at the Abacha tenure a little bit differently, wouldn't you? Obviously, people know about his military ruling as a disciplinarian. People know about how strict it was at the time. It made it difficult. It made it difficult for people for people to mess up in the country, because there was a military ruling that was punishing people's excesses. Politicians couldn't steal money or misbehave easily because Abacha was always watching. So it made it hard for people who were not trying to work. Okay? It made it hard for people who were not trying to work. So yeah. So Babami, I think I saw something, a comment earlier. I didn't know, and people were complaining at that time. Yes, people were complaining, right? How much is naira to dollar today? How much is naira to dollar today? People were complaining back then, weren't they? So let me check the foreign exchange very quickly. How much is 1 naira to a dollar right now? To a dollar today. How much? Let's see. 1,000. Oh my goodness. 1,484. There's somebody there that says Bola Ahmed was saying naira was 22 naira to $1. Oh, look, I'll give you that. I'm not even going to argue that with you. Okay? Even though, the data I'm putting in front of you is research, but you know what? Let's go with your data. Let's say it was 22 naira to $1. Let's even go with that. Okay? Let's go with that. You win, brother. You win. Okay? You win, sir. Babami Bola Ahmed, let's say that you win. Under Abacha, it was 22 naira to $1. Let's go with that. Let's use that. Okay? Compared to now, 1998 was only what? It was only what? What's that? 27 years ago, wasn't it? 26, 27 years ago. 1998, and today is what? Today is, oh my goodness, is what? Today, so this was in, let's say this was 1998. 1 second. Let's say this was 1998. Okay? Actually, you know what? I'm going to drop this. Versus 2025, which is basically 1,484. That's what Google's telling me right now. $484 to what? To a naira. Sorry, naira rather, to a dollar. So this is naira to $1. Can you believe that? Oh my God, to 1 USD. That's what we are looking at today. Okay? But I bet a lot of people have never really considered this before. You see? So when we judge, so really, how do we judge a president? How do we judge them? Do we judge them with our feelings like, this person is a strict ruler, is a strict military ruler, is a no-nonsense person. People were getting prosecuted. When people did wrong, when politicians stole money, they were penalized for it. How do we judge them? Do we judge them because they're nice and they don't punish anybody, that everybody can do whatever they want? There is no punishment. There is no rule of law in the country. Is that what we call a good president? Or do we measure our president by their performance, by economic performance? Okay? Please answer me. Which is the better way to judge a president? Is it because they are nice? They are soft. They're not disciplinarians. They're not strict on crime and corruption. Is that how we judge a good president? By our emotions, by our feelings, or is it with things that really matter, like economic growth, like economic performance, like your currency having value? It's a question. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ bá mi dáhùn question yẹn, ìyá mi yẹn, bàbá mi tẹ́ wà lórí ètò àtàwọn tẹ́ wà lórí comment section. Ẹ bá mi dáhùn question yẹn. What's the better way of judging a president? Of measuring the performance of a government? What's a better way of judging it? Is it because they're just nice? Everybody can do whatever they want. There is no discipline in the country. There is no punishment for crime. There is no punishment for corruption. Is that what we regard as a good president? Thanks for the gift, Momo Loreo. Thanks for the gift. I appreciate that. Is that how we judge a good president? Or is it through economic performance before anything else? What should we be, okay, as citizens, what should we be prioritizing? Should we be prioritizing a president that's a nice guy, or should we be judging presidents by what? By economic performance. I'm the kind of person that I judge based on economic value, based on economic data, never by oh, that person is nice, that person is a cool guy, is an easygoing guy. No, I don't care about those things. Okay, Babami Bola Ahmed says, what you take as good governance, someone else may see it as bad governance. That's why I'm asking. So what do you take, you sir, Babami Bola Ahmed, what do you regard as good governance? Is it just somebody being nice, somebody just being kind and easygoing, or someone who actually benefits the economy, who improves the economy, the value of the economy? Somebody who grows the economy, someone who grows the value of your currency. So how do you measure that? How do you judge it? That I'm asking you, sir. I'm asking everybody, but Babami Bola Ahmed, because when you hear Nigerians talk about, military ruling is bad, and you ask them why, it is based off emotions, based off feelings, like, military ruling, they're very strict, strict, military man buru, army, kinika. But what's that got to do with the strength of your economy? If we look at what's going on today, the value of Naira is in the the value of Naira, you might as well put an RIP on top of it. Okay? In comparison with just 27 years ago, and if we go with Babami Bola Ahmed, if we go with his own numbers, with his own figures, that's what I'm gonna go with. I don't even know why you said that, because again, it only validates how well Abacha performed. Okay? If we go with his own figures compared to today, Abacha was, you could look at it as a superhero. Most people wouldn't even think it was possible for Naira to be 22 Naira to $1. Most people wouldn't even believe that ever happened before. Most people wouldn't even be able to even process that information. But it's a verifiable fact. I thought it was less than that, but let's say that, let's not argue, because even 22 Naira to $1 is amazing, isn't it? So, Anuoluwa 001 says, good evening, boss. My take on Nigeria is we cannot be one. We are two. What? Nigeria as a contraption has more ethnic nations than the whole of Europe. We have, forget about those. You see, we're getting into emotional arguments now. I get the point, but look, forget about all that stuff, all that ethnicities. That only matters at the bottom, because at the top it doesn't matter whether you're Yoruba, Igbo, or Hausa. All our leaders and the upper class, they use the same hangar to park their private jet. They use the same dock to park their ship and their yachts. Okay, and they all have and their students are attending the same the best university, Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard. Their students are attending the same university as well. So let's all that nonsense about different ethnicities, or we have too many languages. Look, it doesn't matter at the top. Only argument àwọn kí ló ń pè àwọn tí wọn kì í lówó. Ṣé mẹ̀kúnnù ló ń pè wọ́n? Argument àwọn mẹ̀kúnnù nìyẹn. At the top, all that nonsense don't matter. So we have to look at what matters. Because if an Igbo man goes to the market to buy a bag of rice, it's gonna cost the same as a Yoruba man. It's gonna cost the same as an Hausa man. So when we are judging our president and our leadership and our economy, we cannot afford to be getting into those petty ethnic level discussions. That means it means nothing when it comes to things like economic performance. So so if it doesn't matter at the top, then we let's stop distracting ourselves with ethnicity, tribalism, and all that nonsense that don't matter when you go to exchange your dollars. When you go to when you take your naira to the bank to exchange it for dollars, the same value they're going to give a Yoruba man that they're going to give an Igbo man, that they're going to give a Fulani man, that they're going to give an Hausa man, isn't it? So when naira is not performing, when naira is bad, 1,484 naira to a dollar, that affects everybody, doesn't it? It's not different to an Igbo man. When you get to the foreign exchange, they don't ask you, are you Igbo or Yoruba, before they determine how much value, how much you can get for your naira, how much dollars you can get for your naira. They don't ask you that, do they? So let's not focusing on all those things that don't matter. It's the people at the top who use our media to push out all those divisive propaganda, because they know when we are too busy fighting each other, we will never be able to see what they're doing. We will never be able to focus on them. When we are too busy fighting each other, we won't be able to focus on them. We won't be able to look at what really matters, like economic performance. We won't be able to tell Obasanjo, Jonathan Goodluck, and and Baba Bola Tinubu pé okay, you're saying you're doing well, but Baba mi, did you know in 1998 when Abacha died, Abacha is supposed to be the worst president ever, but when he died, did you know dollar was under 25 naira? Did you know that? So Baba mi, you cannot tell us pé ẹ ń ṣe iṣẹ́ tó dáa tẹ́yin ò bá lè ṣe tó ìtàbáṣà ṣe. If we start saying that, do you think our leaders are not going to shape up? If we let our leaders know that, look, we remember as citizens, we remember in 1998, our country had what? We had 9.6 billion in foreign reserves. And we remember that our, the rate of exchange was, let's say, 22 naira to a dollar. In 1998, if we tell our president that, like, we remember, so no matter what you do, this is how we're going to judge you. We don't care about all that emotional nonsense. Those emotional arguments, we don't care about that. We don't care about anything else you say to us about how well you're doing. Oh, we built roads, Calabar to Lagos Highway, all that stuff. We don't care about that. If it doesn't mean our economy is improving, if it doesn't mean that our currency is developing, is gaining in value, you know what I'm saying? We don't care about all that nonsense. We don't care about shiny roads and shiny buildings when our economy is not measuring up to the way it was before. And actually, we can also use it as our voting principle. So when the next leaders are campaigning for their next election, we as informed citizens, Tony Larry, as citizens, citizens with brain, with functioning brain, we're going to be saying, tell us about your policy. We know from our history that Abacha's policy performed at this level. Forget about all that emotional nonsense that they talk about Abacha. He was putting politicians in prison. Now we don't care about all that nonsense. We worry about that once we can put food on our table. We worry about then we'll worry about niceties. Okay, when our currency has value and it's not completely useless in the global market, we'll worry about niceties. So we have to put our priorities in the right place. It's in the economy. This is our priority. We have to remind our leaders. We remember in 1998, when Abacha, who was supposedly the worst man that ever happened to Nigeria, when he passed away, Nigeria had 9.6 billion in foreign reserves. Nigerian currency was super healthy, almost competing with dollars and pounds. Okay? And also, Abacha also provisioned PTF infrastructure investment, which was building a lot of infrastructure, which was targeted to develop infrastructure across the nation. But people don't talk about this, do they? Because the only thing we hear about Abacha is what? Is the propaganda, right? It's emotions. Oh, he stole money. Oh, he did this. Oh, he was wicked. Oh, he was this. He was that. But do we ever ask ourselves, what about his economy? How did the economy perform under Abacha? Okay, so basically the narrative about, oh, he stole money. So okay, when after he passed away, then what happened to the money then? What happened to the 9.6 billion? What happened to it? Did he ever return to Nigeria? After that money was returned, where did he go? Why did the value of Naira fall and decline so rapidly after Abacha passed away? Why were the people who came into government after him, why were they still borrowing money? When we had 9.6 billion, which were supposedly being recovered, then why were they still borrowing money? Baba mi omodu asopo disappear 100%. You see, what happened was much of the return about supposed Abacha loot was re-looted. They were actually stolen by people who came into governance after him. The people that we are praising today. Ogbo ato baba mi Dr. Fred, mo se ba junilo e káàbọ̀ baba, ẹ ṣeun. So yeah, the people, the good people, you know, the good, and you have to put it in quotes, the good and the nice people who came into governance after him actually stole the money. Okay? They were supposedly using it in foreign advice social programs, not developing the economy, but foreign advice social programs. Okay. And also, one thing that people are still saying till this day, there was never any transparency about the money. The money were not traced. It was just on just a news headline now. X amount of money from the Abacha stolen loot is being returned to the country. But it was never any traceability. There was never any transparency. Okay, when they get returned, from which bank to which bank? Which bank received it? Did it go into the Central Bank of Nigeria or not? When did it go? How much was returned? Was it in batches? In how many batches? No transparency whatsoever about all that money. Okay? Baba mi omo kehinde asrop mo se ba junilo se dada ni baba. Good evening, sir. Mo se ba junilo mo se ba ibeji o. Yeah. So pẹ̀lú gbogbo owó tó sọ pé wọ́n jí ìgbà tó wá sókè bíbá ìlọ́jà àti nípò jí owó yẹn ni okay ẹ dá padà wọn ò fẹ́ dá padà and láti sue wọn, we had to sue them. Okay, we had to sue those foreign banks, and when they even decided to, okay, they agreed to return it after we sued them successfully in international banks. There were nobody could trace the way the money where the money went. There was zero traceability. Which raises a moral question, doesn't it? If stolen money was returned, why wasn't it ever properly audited? Why wasn't it properly invested into infrastructure? Then how come there is no traceability to impact? How come nobody knows where that money is still to this day, or what was ever done with it? We are talking $19 billion, not even Naira. $19 billion, over $19 billion. It was just under $20 billion. Okay, all of that disappeared. So what does that tell us? That tells us that the Abacha loot narrative is partly a political weapon, not just a legal truth. So what does that tell us? It tells us there is a lot of propaganda in that narrative. It is not a matter of fact. Okay? So let's continue. So these are some data worth considering, and some of which I have already touched on. So if Abacha was supposedly looting the money, then why were our foreign reserves growing and our debt dropping? People are not asking these questions. I hope I don't get in trouble by asking those questions. I'm just a researcher, little me. I'm just a researcher, I'm just a researcher, rather. Little old me. I'm not a researcher, and I'm not trying to cross on to cause any problem by raising these questions. But as a researcher, I did a bit of research, and I saw a few things that's not making sense. And when it's not making sense, is what is nonsense. When it's not making sense, is what is nonsense, isn't it? So yeah.
ṣé ó dìgbà tí gbogbo ẹ bá mo dùn fún àmì ni.
Bàbá mi mo ṣe bá jí ní lọ o. Ṣé ẹ fẹ́ gbóhùn sókè bàbá?
Bàbá jẹ́ má bínú mò ń lísìn sí yẹn èmi àtàwọn èèyàn ń ṣe conversation lórí ìṣẹ̀ṣe ni. I'm with you, listen to you 100%, but I can't speak.
Okay.
For your topic, I have something important to contribute.
Okay, sir.
Very, very important. You're on the road. Mo ti gbàgbé pé ìgbé èbó ojú ọ̀nà ọ̀gángan nàrà lákè rẹ̀ ń sọ ọ̀ní sí rìn. Kọ́lọ́hún máa fọ́ níṣó máa jọ yín sìn. Ẹ jẹ́ má bínú torí Ọlọ́run mi ò tó yí fi sakọ gbogbo lé o.
Okay, sir. Ẹ kàn jẹ́ ká mọ̀ anytime tẹ́ bá ti fẹ́ fóhùn sókè kẹ́
Now I will notify you. I know. I trust you, my brother.
Thank you, sir. Ẹ ṣeun bá mi. Tẹ́lẹ̀ mi náà bá fẹ́ gbóhùn sókè ẹ̀yin bàbá wa ẹ̀yin ìyá wa, feel free láti send request o. Feel free to come up. But basically, there's a lot of narrative about the whole Abacha thing that people don't talk about. And you wonder why people don't talk about it. People who are supposedly, smart people who are supposedly wise, people who are educated, our economists, our leaders. How come they never talk about those things? How come, we don't analyze the economic performance under Abacha? If it's supposedly true if he supposedly stole all that money, then how come our foreign reserves were growing under him and recognized, and our debt was dropping under him? How come? Jagaban of Africa, I hope you're well. Shidadani Bami. Mushiba Junilo, thanks for joining us. If anyone would like to, contribute, please feel free to unmute. Okay. So yeah, how come we, when we talk about the Abacha story, the history of Abacha, how come it's never looked at in this context before? How come it's never considered in terms of economic performance? Okay, I want to ask a question. Baba mi omini yegbon okay ba mi.
Okay, sir. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ mo kàn fẹ́ béèrè ìbéèrè kan ni sir. Nígbà tí wọ́n sọ pé bàbá wa Abacha pé ó jí owó kó lọ sí òkè òkun.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni.
And then adẹ̀wà lóòótọ́ bó possible ó jẹ́ òǹtọ́ ó jẹ́ kó jẹ́ òǹtọ́ bọ̀ adẹ̀wà a rí i pé àwọn ará òkè òkun wọ́n dá owó yìí padà wá sílé. Wọ́n dá owó yìí padà, wọ́n dá díẹ̀ padà bí ó tẹ̀ ti tò bọ̀ wọ́n dá padà. Níbo ni wọ́n kó owó yẹn, owó tí wọ́n ní bàbá Abacha jí lọ yẹn, níbo náà kó owó yẹn sí?
Okay, ẹ jẹ́ kí n clarify nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀.
Ó tó ń refurbish gbogbo Nàìjíríà yìí lápapọ̀.
Exactly.
Owó yẹn níbo náà kó sí? Ṣé owó nǹkan náà sọ pé ejò gbé mì àdángbé kan sá lọ ọ̀bọ wá sínú ọ́fíìsì wá jí owó? Ṣé owó náà kọ́ ni ẹ̀? Nínú àwọn àti Abacha ta ni olè? Nínú àwọn àti Abacha jọ̀wọ́ ta ni olè? Nínú àwọn tó wà lórí ìjọba nígbà àtàwọn ta ló lè gangan?
Exactly. You see, this is where Nigerians, as citizens, we have to wake up. We have to wise up and stop going with the emotional narratives. Kò sí nǹkan tó kàn wá nípa personal personality, our rulers, we get too caught up in their personalities. We don't care about that. Nǹkan tó matter fáwa ni pé èló là ń ra oúnjẹ ní lọ́jà. Èló ni a lè exchange dollars wá fún náírà wá fún tá bá fẹ́ ṣe dollars. So ti yé, Those are the things that we should concern ourselves about. It should never be about ṣé Yorùbá ni ṣé Igbo ni ṣé ó ga ṣé ó kúrú ṣé ó pupa ṣé ó dúdú ṣé ó nice ṣé ó ṣe báyìí no ṣé ó mọ̀ ọjọ́ àbí kò mọ̀ ọjọ́. All those nonsense that that we have been manipulated with today. Our number one should be, before we ask ourselves, is he a nice guy or a nice woman? We should ask ourselves, what is his policy and how is that going to benefit our economy? That should be the number one question. Kí wá lọ dáhùn ìbéèrè tí bàbá mi gbé kalẹ̀. Ipe okay, ó sọ pé ó jí owó yẹn gan gbàtà wá sọ pé òkè ó jí ẹja padà fún wọn gbà yẹn, why tí wọn ò ṣe fẹ́ dá padà? And also, then when it was finally returned, when we were told, okay, I wanted to correct something there, bàbá mi, àrí àpẹẹrẹ pé ó dá owó padà, ọkọ̀ sọ fún wa pé ó ń dá padà ni o. That was what I was saying about the lack of traceability and transparent about the funds. It was just announced on the news, Nipo Dakpada, but there is no traceability till this day. Lè trace ẹ pé okay, bank báyìí ló dá padà, iye tó dá padà ní, but this is the amount of times tí wọ́n dá padà tó lè ó ṣe é ṣe kọ́ má lè dá gbogbo billions yẹn padà lójijì lẹ́ẹ̀kan náà 9.6 billions yẹn. Ó lè má lè dá gbogbo ẹ̀ padà lẹ́ẹ̀kan náà, but ẹ lè show wa pé how many times ni wọ́n dá padà in how many batches ni wọ́n fi dá padà, ìgbà tó dá padà, who received it, which bank was it returned to? Which bank wo ló dá padà sígbà tó sọ pé àwọn dá padà, which bank wo ló lọ, àti pé ṣàwa lè trace pé okay, àwọn bank máa ń ṣe audit now ní bank tó dá padà sí, okay, ẹ jẹ́ a ṣe audit ká wo ibi tówó yẹn lọ, ṣówó yẹn ṣì wà ń bẹ̀, tí ó bá sí ń bẹ̀ níbo ló lọ, kí lẹ fi ṣe? But there is no audit, there is no traceability, there is no transparency about this thing at all whatsoever. Can you imagine what $9.8 billion would have done for our country in 1998? At a time where our exchange rate was super healthy. Moshe Bajunilo, Babami Jagaban, thanks for the gift, thanks for the gift, much appreciated. Babami Omoke in the Astrop, thanks for the gift as well. Gbogbo ẹ̀yin 34 lẹ́bùn. Ọwọ́ yá máa ròkè lágbára Èdùmàrè. Ọwọ́ yá máa ròkè o. Bá mi Atamátàsé Moshe Bajunilo. I can see you're trying to come up, but network yín rà pé ó ń block yín. Ẹ tún try láti padà wá again. Ẹ tún try láti padà wá again. So yeah. So if we are considering this, simple questions we can ask ourselves. If Abacha was looting, Tabasopo G owó yẹn ni, then how come the same owó tẹ́sọ́pọ̀ Abacha jí, a rí pé our foreign reserves was growing? Okay, a foreign reserve means there are international bodies that measure these things. Because this is one of the ways that they classify or countries, how they measure the value of your currency. Okay, the amount of foreign reserves is one of those factors that they consider. The same people who were telling us and measuring our economy as growing because of the amount of reserves that Abacha was storing, and the same people who were seeing that our debt was dropping because Abacha was paying off our debt out of the foreign reserves. He was paying back our debt. Our debt was dropping significantly. And out of the foreign reserves, they're not low. So, èèyàn tó jí owó, why tó ṣe jẹ́ pé owó tó jí lè fi measure bẹ́ẹ̀ economy wa ṣe ń grow? Why tó ṣe pé owó yẹn tó jí, ó dẹ̀ fi reduce gbèsè tá a jẹ ní international bank? Ogbó àtọ́ bàbá mi Atamátàsé mo ṣe bá jú ní lọ, mo try láti gbé yín wọlé rà kí network to drop yín. Ẹja àmọ̀tẹ́bá ní ìbéèrè àgbé yín wọlé again. So yeah. So you see that it's not adding up, is it? It's not making sense. Tá bá bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ń yẹ̀ wò, tá bá bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ń fọ́ gbogbo àwọn narratives yẹn, tá à ń wo data tí a fi emotion ṣe. They want us to be emotional. Abacha tó burú tó ń ṣe báyìí. Military rule. Fẹ́ military nílẹ̀ wa mọ́ o. Kìnìkan. Can you go to Burkina Faso and tell them that they shouldn't want military ruling in Burkina Faso? What did democracy ruling ever did for them? And look at how much is already been achieved with military ruling in Burkina Faso. So àwa tá máa ń pariwo pé a fẹ́ military ruling, ṣé aṣọ pé narrative yẹn ṣé àwa la ronú débẹ̀ àbí àwọn kan ló gbé kinní yẹn sí wa lọ́kàn ló gbé sí wa lọ́kàn ló pé ká má fẹ́ military ruling. Torí pé the last time ta ní military ruling a rí ipa tó rí lórí ilẹ̀ wa lórí economy wa náà. A lè sọ pé military ruling is automatic pé ó máa dájú democracy lọ, but with the right policy, because you need to be able to enforce your policy as well. Torí ẹ̀ ló ṣe ń ṣiṣẹ́ ní Burkina Faso now. Ẹ fi pé ká láwọn politicians àpàpàǹdodo kan ọ lè dìde sí Traoré kọ́ máa sọ pé gbogbo nǹkan tó fẹ́ máa ṣe yẹn àwọn ò fẹ́ kó máa ṣe o, kọ́ máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí dìde sí kọ́ máa fi gagbága. Ẹ fi pé òun ti máa lè ṣe gbogbo nǹkan tó ń ṣe yẹn ni kò ní lè rí ṣe. Ká ló ní láti lọ sọ pé òkè kó lọ sí House of Representatives, House of Parliament, ike kan wá dìbò sí ipò òkè òun fẹ́ ṣe báyìí nílùú òun fẹ́ build hospitals, òun fẹ́ ṣe báyìí. Ẹ fi kan máa gbà fún ni. Nígbà tí Saudi Arabia ní pé káwọn wá kọ́ mọ́ṣáláṣí káwọn wá kọ́ mọ́ṣáláṣí, how many mọ́ṣáláṣí lọ́la àwọn fẹ́ kọ́ sílùú ẹ̀? Ṣé 20 àbí 50? When Saudi Arabia told him they wanted to build all those mosques, and he made a unilateral decision that no, we don't need more, we don't need 200. Thank you, 200 mosques. And he made a unilateral decision to say no, we don't need 200 mosques. We need schools. We need hospitals. You understand? And when he said that. But yeah, that was out of luxury of his position. Kani kọ́ máa ní láti gbé ẹjọ́ yẹn lọ sí House of Parliament, wọ́n máa ní láti lọ dìbò fún, wọ́n máa ní pé kí wọ́n dìbò fún kéṣọ́ máa gba 200 mosques àbí wọ́n nígbà báyìí. Ẹ fi pé ó máa lè dá kíní yẹn padà bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn ni. Ṣùgbọ́n náà tó fẹ́ gbà wọlé sí lára nìyẹn. You understand? So basically, military ruling is not always bad. It's about the policy. So democracy is not always right. It's about the policy. The democracy tó ń ta lẹ́yìn fún aráàta, tó ń ta lẹ́yìn fún Chinese, tó ń lọ ya owó tí kò yẹ kó ya, tí wọ́n fi gbèsè kún orí gbèsè, tó ń devalue currency wa. Ṣé yẹn wá dání? So our people, if we're going to come out of the current condition that we're in, we have to mature a little bit. A máa ní láti mature beyond ká máa fi emotions máa judge àwọn leaders what type of leaders do we want. Because we have to have serious conversations with ourselves about what really matters. Is it economic growth, which reflects in things like the price of goods, the price of food and water? Okay? Is that what we consider as something good, or just okay, kò fẹ́ àwọn politicians ń bẹ̀ tá a máa lè bú wọn ní lè bú wa padà wọn ní lè fi wá sẹ́wọ̀n? Ṣé nǹkan tá a fẹ́ nìyẹn ni? Ṣé yẹn ló ń pè ní pé kí ìlú máa lọ síwájú ni? Fair discipline. So is that the right? Does that mean that's the right economy? That's the right leadership? Because we don't want the discipline that our military ruler is going to bring about. So we have to develop our political maturity to start looking at economic factors. That's what we judge our leadership by. Economic factors, foreign reserves, currency valuation, price of goods. Before we care about whether they're nice, whether they're Muslims or Christians or Onishashe, before we care about all those nonsense, we should be caring about this first. We should be caring about this first. Baba mi ọmọ èṣù sọ pé democracy can never work in Africa, but we need Oduduwa nation, not military rule. Okay. Let's analyze that very quickly. Baba mi mo ṣe bá dín lọ, baba mi ọmọ èṣù. We need Oduduwa. Okay, taba sọ pé okay, we separate ourselves into Oduduwa nation today. Who are going to be the leaders? And what are their policies? You see, That's another example of emotion-based decisions rather than a policy-based decision. I believe a better ideology should be, we don't care what kind of umbrella, what you want to call it. We don't care about that. We care how it benefits us economically and as individuals. We should not be saying, Oduduwa nation láfẹ́ or Yorùbá nation. Tẹ́bá àwọn wèrè tó wà bẹ́ẹ̀ lẹ́ni náà lọ́sì máa wà níbẹ̀ náà. System tá à ń lò nísìnyí náà láṣì máa lò lọ. Wọ́n á sì máa yá owó lápá owó àpàpàǹdodo tó ń fi wá sínú gbèsè. Wọ́n á sì máa ṣe gbogbo àwọn nonsense yẹn. So that should not be our only thing. That should come after the economics. It should be, we need the kind of leadership that's going to come into power with the kind of policy that's going to reduce our debt, that's going to increase our foreign reserves, that's going to what? Develop our currency to get to a competitive rate. That should be the number one goal. Tabawati niyeto, then we can say that we would prefer this person to be Yoruba, Hausa or Igbo. We would prefer the name of our country to be called Yoruba Nation or Oduduwa Nation or something else. Those are secondary. Look, we have to clarify our hierarchy of needs. We need to define our hierarchy of needs. Torí pé tí Yorùbá bá wà mẹ́tọ́ máa ń pè ní Oduduwa Nation tí a bá lè afford bread lásán lọ́jà, then who gives a damn if it's called, what we call it? Tí àwọn òyà wa tí wọn bá lè dáná mọ́ torí pé price of goods ó ti wọ́n jù, then who gives that? You think people are going to care that it's called Oduduwa Nation? Èpè náà la máa ṣe èpè tí Nàìjíríà máa ń ṣe fún orúkọ Nàìjíríà sí náà la máa ṣe fún Oduduwa Nation tó bá wọlé wá tí ò bá dẹ̀ pé fún wa náà. Bàmí àtàwátà ṣe mo ṣe bá jú ní lọ kábíyèsí bàbá. Mo rí kí nẹ́tíwọ̀kì yín ó fún yín ní ìdojúkọ díẹ̀ ti wọlé o. Mo ṣe bá jú ní lọ. Thanks for joining us, bàbá mi. So yeah, look, we have to redefine our priorities is what I'm saying. I think economic growth should always be at the top of our needs, about what kind of governance do we want. This should be the number one priority before the branding, because Oduduwa Nation is just a branding. And you know what they say, right? When you can put lipstick on a pig, it is still a pig. If the policy is still wrong, if his policy is going to lead to our continuous decline, then you can put a lipstick on it and call it a different name, but it is still a pig. It will still lead to better. We don't know that. What makes a nation better is the policy. What makes a nation better is the policy. It doesn't just become better because we call it a different name. So personally, I think our priority should be in the policy. Policy yẹn ló yẹ ká máa fi judge àwọn leaders wa before we vote for them, before they come into power, and also after they leave, after they reign, after they finish serving their term, we should still be judging them with economic power. lè máa fi aura judge ìlú wa ká máa fi aura judge àwọn leaders wa. No, we cannot do that. We have to judge them based on economic growth and economic performance before anything else. Okay, so let's go through the data very quickly. So 1993, when Abacha came into power, our foreign reserves was only 494 million. We had external debt greater than just over 30 billion. Okay, $30 billion. In 1998, when he left, our economic reserves had grown to 9.6 billion, and the external debt had reduced to 28 billion. Significantly, no new IMF loans, no Eurobond borrowing, which means Nigeria was perfectly positioned to then start reducing the debt even further. ó kọ́kọ́ wọlé ó kọ́kọ́ develop economy yẹn náà ó create avenue kí owó máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí nìde. He created different avenues for the economic growth. And when he got to a point, he stabilized the economy. The naira was healthy. You know, the naira was competitive in the foreign exchange market globally. Okay. Then from that point, he started doing what? He started creating foreign reserves for the purpose of what? Reducing the external debt. Bọ̀bọ́ ẹni tó fẹ́ gba Nàìjíríà lẹ̀ lọ́wọ́ àwọn nínú ìgbèkùn tá wà gángan nìyẹn. And he was doing it at a very rapid rate. Okay, Sherry. So when in 1998, already pé àwèrè external debt ta fi ń dè yìí ta fi control yìí ni wọ́n wèrè bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí reduce yẹn á dẹ̀ sí rí pé àpẹẹrẹ sí wa pé wọ́n ní àjẹṣẹ́kù yẹn wọ́n á ti ń bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí fi reduce loan wa ẹja tètè ká tètè fún lọ́rùn ká tètè yọ kúrò lọ́nà o. Torí pé bó ṣe ń ṣe lọ yìí tó bá ń ṣe lọ bẹ́ẹ̀ nílé control ọ ti ń bọ́ nìyẹn ọ ti ń bọ́ lọ́wọ́ wa nìyẹn ọ ti ń bọ́ nínú ìgbèkùn tá dè wọ́n mọ́ nìyẹn. That's what the data is saying. That Abacha was in the process of releasing Nigeria from the shackles of international debt. The data proves that. Clearly, some people don't want that to happen, do they? Because as soon as he was removed, what happened? Nigeria started borrowing again, even though we supposedly had 9.6 billion outside. They need you to borrow. They need you to borrow. What's Traore doing now as well? What is he doing? He's paying off his country's debt. Because you are not, we celebrate Nigerian Independence Day every year, but that's a joke, right? That's a joke, right? Because the biggest joke going is African nations who are in international debt, calling themselves independent nations. How are you independent when you are owing this amount of money? And the money are being used to dictate policies on your land. When your foreign exchange, your currency is worth nothing in the foreign market, which means you are not able to determine how much your other countries pay for your material, for your raw materials. That means you cannot dictate how much you are selling them. Mọ̀ pé àwọn consequences bí náírà ṣe rí yẹn ìyẹn bí pé gbogbo nǹkan tá a ní bí gold bí diamond is worth nothing wọ́n máa gbà lọ́wọ́ wa bí ẹni pé ọ̀fẹ́ ló ń gbà lọ́wọ́ wa ni torí pé currency wa ò dáa àti pé currency tàwọn la fi ń trade. So tábà ká tó ta nǹkan àmọ́ kọ́kọ́ ọmọ rà lọ ní ọ̀pọ̀ lọ́wọ́ wa pẹ̀lú with our terrible currency, and when they're about to pay us as well, and they pay us in their currency, by the time we convert it to our own currency, God forbid they pay us in naira, but even if they pay us in dollars, by the time we convert it, our dollar, our naira cannot even perform in our country because the value is terrible. It's in a terrible state. Some comments here. See ya, Emma. I don't think you're processing this information. And if you're going to make a comment like that with that kind of attitude, I think you should come up. Kenny can drop from see ya, Emma. You need to come up if you're gonna have that kind of attitude. Please be brave and come up. Kenny come by me kọ́ fún wa láàyè fún ìyá tó ń pè ní sí ya Emma yẹn. If you're going to be coming with that kind of attitude, I hope you got some information to back that kind of brevity, okay? So please come up, okay? So see ya Emma, come up and come and talk to us. Come and tell us why we're wrong and you're right. Come up. Nah, don't be pussy. Excuse me. Don't be a coward now. Please come up. I've sent you a request. Come up. Come on. Let's have a conversation about that. Let's try to understand your perspective. Let's understand why I'm wrong and you're right. Please come up. Let's understand why the data is wrong and you're right. Please come up and come and tell us. Come and tell us. Come and tell us. Don't, be brave. Don't be a coward in the comments, just talking nonsense. Come up and let us know. Come and teach us. Come and teach us why the data is wrong and you're right. Please come and teach us so that we can learn more. Okay. Anyway, we'll continue with the program, but when you finally grow some hair on your chest and you're ready to come and back up your assertions. When you're ready to come and back up your assertions, please come back up, okay? Please come up. Don't be a coward down there, just commenting, especially when you're being rude as well. I read the tone of your comment. If you're going to be rude, that means you got strong assertions. Then don't be a coward. Come upstairs and come and make those assertions. Let's hear it. Let's learn from you. Okay? So basically, what does the data tell us? The data tells us that under Abacha's reign, our economic was super healthy. Abacha did not borrow any additional loans from the IMF. He didn't borrow any more money from the Eurobond. He started reducing the debt out of the foreign reserve that he had accumulated. Okay? Which is why if we engage in our common sense, it will tell us that the narrative about stolen funds is not adding up. Okay, let's even assume he stole funds. Even if we're going with that narrative, it looks like Abacha stealing money was actually very good to our economy compared to the people who supposedly came into the power after him, who supposedly didn't steal money. The angels who came in after him were worse for our economy compared to Abacha. So even if we're going with that narrative that he stole money for seven generations, then why was his policy better for our economy? If that's the case, I think we should be voting for people who are going to come in and steal money if this is the kind of benefit it's going to have on our economy. If it's going to reduce our debt and if it's going to improve our currency to under $25 to a naira. I think that's the kind of thieves that we need in our economy, to be honest with you. I think those are the kind of thieves that we should be praying for. A thief like Abacha that's going to come and steal all this money, but somehow still manage to reduce our debt. Somehow still manage to increase our foreign reserves, okay? From 494 million to 9.6 billion. Who is still going to be making sure that his policy, according to his policy, he wasn't borrowing any more money. Okay, at least it's better than leaders who are stealing money from what they're borrowing. If we are even saying Abacha stole money, okay, the data proves that let's assume he stole money, but at least he was stealing money that he produced, money that his economy produced, not the money that he was borrowing, like the leaders of today. They're not producing anything, but they're still stealing money, aren't they? And like we said earlier, how come all the supposed 9.6 billions that he supposedly stole, that they were supposed to return back to Nigeria, how come there's no traceability for all that money? Baba mo ṣe bá Junilo, ẹ ṣeun bá mi o, kábíyèsí bàbá, thanks for the gift o, ọwọ́ ya máa ròkè lágbára Èdùmàrè kò ní tán níbi tẹ́tí mu o, Dr. Fred mo ṣe bá Junilo.
Orí mi rè o.
Bàbá mi àtàmátà ṣe mo ṣe bá Junilo. Ẹ ṣeun tẹ́wà pẹ̀lú wa lónìí o.
Mo ṣe bá Junilo, ìyájú orí mi rè o.
Ẹ ṣeun gbogbo ọjọ́ o. Ẹ ṣeun gbogbo ọgbà o. Ẹ ṣeun orí àná mo mọ̀ ọ́ lórí o. Ẹ ṣeun bá mi o. Àmàrí bá níwá yín sì lágbára Èdùmàrè kábíyèsí bàbá. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. You see, that person who was talking earlier, that person is clearly still stuck in that emotional narrative, isn't it? Because ẹni tó bá ń ronú, tó bá ń lo làákàyè ẹ̀, tó bá dẹ̀ ń lo data, tó bá ń fi ojú data wo, you would realize that it doesn't, saying Abacha was a thief, he stole all this money, it means absolutely nothing. When you consider our economic growth, if anything, we should be praying for more Abachas. If a leader comes in today and they tell me, oh, I'm going to steal a lot of money, I'm going to kill a lot of people, but I'm going to reduce your economy, bring Naira down to $22, I am also going to what? Reduce your debt, the nation's debt. I am not going to borrow any more money. Okay, I'm going to develop infrastructure to be able to produce more so that we can develop more foreign reserves. If that person comes with that kind of narrative today, I'll be the first person to vote for them. So all those emotional nonsense that we keep using to to confuse ourselves, we have to grow out of that. We have to grow out of that. But our emotional narratives, we have to leave it behind. It's about economic growth more than before anything else. Before anything else, it's about economic growth. Bàbá mi omi ní ìmọ̀ ṣèbájú ní lọ́ba mi ṣé dáadáa ni. Ṣé mọ̀ pé tí wá sókè ṣá ṣe fẹ́ bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ ni. Ó dà kí wọ́n mọ̀ pé àwọn ti wá sókè. Mute. So yeah, so we need to wake up as a people, as a citizen, and as a nation. We need to wake up, and I'll be Baba mi Dr. Fred. Ṣe sọ pé fẹ́ wá sókè ni, I send request bá mi. Mo Dr. Fred wá, okay, mo ti invite yín tẹ́lẹ̀, but ẹ máa bọ̀ lókè o. So yeah. So look, we have to wake up. We have to. Bá mi àbúrò àbọ̀ yìí sá. Mo ṣe bá jù lọ.
Tí mo fi text bẹ́ẹ̀ lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ ní pé ìbá ọlọ́run ẹni pé tí someone like Abacha pé tó bá wá again that you gonna be the first to vote for him. Òun ló jẹ́ kí n sọ pé and I will be the second.
You be the second. Ẹ ṣeun bá mi. Ẹ ṣeun bá mi. So seriously, you know what I'm saying? That we need disciplinarians. Our politicians will also come. We need disciplinarians with the right that are armed with the right policy or policy that's going to grow a nation's economy. That's what we need. Àwọn èèyàn mọ̀ pé democracy yẹn ó fi wá kó wa lómi ọbẹ̀ jẹ ni. You understand? So we need to wake up from all that emotional narratives. Gbogbo àwọn nonsense tá máa ń fẹ́ yẹn. Show fine, show dúdú, show pupa, show ga, show kéré, show nice, show máa ń bá bèbí ṣeré, show máa ń bá ìyá ẹ̀, show máa ń bóúnjẹ sí ìyá ẹ̀ lẹ́nu. But all that nonsense that we shouldn't care about. Ṣé Yorùbá ni? Ṣé Hausa ni? Ṣé Igbo ni? I don't give a toss if it doesn't improve the economy. Ṣé kìíní ni báyìí ló ṣe ń ṣe ṣó mọ̀ ọjọ́ ṣó máa wá ṣe ń 2 steps ṣó máa ń wọ fìlà ẹ̀ dáadáa abetí ajá ẹ̀ ṣó máa ń gé dáadáa ṣó máa ń ṣẹ̀tẹ̀ dáadáa ṣó máa ń wọ agbádá. I don't care about all that nonsense. Democracy is an anti-Africanism 100%. Ẹ ṣeun bá mi 100%. We should never care about all that nonsense. Okay? We should never care about that because it doesn't matter. Àwọn tó dẹ̀ ń dorí wa kan tó ń da ìlú wa kan tó ń sorí ìlú wa kodò ọmọ bó ṣe they know how to get us. They use all that emotional narrative to get us. Oh, Abacha stole money. Worth 7 generations. Oh, really? Okay, well, thanks for telling me that. Thank you. But can we have a look at the economy under Abacha's ruling? Can we see? Okay, kí ni economy wa? What was the performance of our economy under his ruling? Ṣé economy wa dáa bó bàjẹ́ under ẹ̀? Ìyẹn ni mo gbọ́dọ̀ kọ́kọ́ kí ẹ̀ nípa kí tó kí ẹ̀ nípa gbogbo àwọn ariwo tó ń pa yẹn. We have to turn down the noise and look at the data before anything else. So nǹkan tó jẹ́ kémi ṣe àwọn ìwádìí nìyẹn àwọn nǹkan tí mo dẹ̀ rí surprise me. Okay, but is it the first time it's happened? No. So what does that mean? When we look at the data, then we start to ask ourselves, was he building a strategic sovereign fund in anticipation for Western sanctions? Kí ló máa ń ṣẹlẹ̀? Táwọn èèyàn bá sọ pé àwọn fẹ́ gba ìlú wọn kúrò nínú ìgbèkùn, kí ló máa ń ṣẹlẹ̀ sí wọn? Kí ló máa ń ṣẹlẹ̀ sí onítọ̀hún? Tí African leaders bá dìde o, tó bá ní àyáwó mọ́ lọ́wọ́ yín tẹ́ máa yín àti mọ orúkọ àwọn tó máa IMF yẹn àyáwó mọ́ lọ́wọ́ yín àti pé owó wa tá a yá lọ́wọ́ yín a fẹ́ máa dá padà àti ẹ̀fẹ́ owó yín mọ́. Kí ló máa ń ṣẹlẹ̀ sírò àwọn leaders yẹn? So was he anticipating Western sanctions? Was he creating a backup against debt-based blackmail? Torí pé àwọn owó tó máa ń yá wa yẹn wọ́n máa ń lò as a tool for control ní ìgbèkùn ní following Gaddafi-like model of offshore independence. Real independence is economic independence. Okay? Torí ẹ̀lẹ́ni máa ń pa mí mo ò bá wọn celebrate Independence Day òṣì kankan. Tá a bá tí kúrò nínú ìgbèkùn gbèsè yẹn àti ìwà independent, how can you say you're independent? Ẹni pé emotions la fi ń ṣe yẹn. Torí ẹ̀ ni a ṣe kí n fi data ṣe, a kì í fi economy ṣe. We are not independent until we are free from the debt, because àwọn debt yẹn ló máa fi ń control policy ilẹ̀ wa, ló máa fi ń control àwọn leaders wa now. Kí ló dẹ̀ ṣẹlẹ̀ sí bàbá yìí nígbà tóun náà sọ pé òun ò ṣe mọ́, tóun náà sọ pé òun fẹ́ máa develop ìlú ẹ̀ independently pé òun ò tiẹ̀ yáwó yìí mọ́, kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀ sí? So there is hidden economic foresight misunderstood as kleptocracy. Tó ti yé yín? Abacha was a genius economically. He was an economic genius, and data proves it. Tó ti yé yín? But this is never said about him because he was demonized. Adesọ pé òkú ò kì í sọ̀rọ̀. Tó ti yé yín? So yeah, but àwọn tó ń ṣe àwọn iṣẹ́ yẹn, tó ń ṣe àwọn àìdá yẹn, tó pa gbogbo àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn mọ́, they are only looking after their own interest. Ọ̀nà táwọn máa fi gbà jí owó yẹn, ọ̀nà tó máa fi gbà stop economic growth yẹn làwọn ń wá sí that wọ́n á sì lè máa control wa dòní yìí. Tó ti yé yín? Ṣèbí country tó bá ti kúrò nínú ìgbèkùn gbèsè tó máa ń gbé sí ló máa lè sọ pé okay, crude oil wa iye bàbá rẹ̀ máa tà fún yín, tẹ́bà rà kẹ́ máa lọ tẹ́bà lè rà ní iye táwọn ń sọ pé a fẹ́ ta nǹkan wa àtà fún yín nìyẹn. Ṣèbẹ́ni tí ò tí ì jẹ gbèsè ló lè sọrú nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn. So what does that mean? It means our natural resources, we don't have a control over them. When we're in debt, we cannot dictate, this is how much we're going to sell it to you. No, we can't dictate that. Tá bá wà nínú ìgbèkùn gbèsè. So why do you think as soon as the leader comes in, they want you to borrow more? Torí nǹkan tó fi ń control wa nìyẹn. That's what they're using to take our resources of our land for nothing. Nǹkan tó fi ń control wa nìyẹn. So àwọn bíi àwọn Chinese tó bá ti ń wá wọn kò tiẹ̀ ń ṣọ́ ẹ fi pé àwọn ọwọ́ àwọn Tinubu làwọn yẹn ti wá gba permission ni. Irọ́ àwọn tá a jẹ lówó lọ́mọ sọ pé òkè a fẹ́ bọ́ síbi Àkúrẹ́ yẹn, a fẹ́ bọ́ síbi Oǹdó yẹn, ẹ lé wọn kúrò bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn jẹ́ káwa bọ́ síbẹ̀. Ẹ fi pé àwọn tó wà ẹ fi pé àwọn ọba ìlú wa lọ́n make decision yẹn lọ́n jẹ́ káwọn Chinese ẹ máa wọlé bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn ni. Irọ́ àwọn ọwọ́ àwọn tá a jẹ lówó lọ́mọ ti lọ béèrè permission yẹn. Tó sì yẹ yín? Káwá sọ pé àwọn independent where, how? We are not independent until tá bá ti sọ gbèsè yẹn tán, tá bá wá kúrò nínú gbèsè yẹn, tá bá wá sọ pé no, from now on, from this point onwards, we are going to determine what we do in our own land with our own resources. Kọ̀lé wa máa dictate mọ́ wa. Until then, we are under dictatorship. I promise you. Kò kàn ṣe military dictatorship wa ni. We are under international economic dictatorship. So that's what's going on. That's what's going on in our land. So a summary of a more nuanced legacy. Tabawo from a different angle. Offshore funds were real, but intent làwọn èèyàn ń parọ́ fún. Àti pé wọ́n sọ pé intention ẹ̀ wà debatable. I disagree. Torí pé the same offshore funds tí wọ́n fi measure economic performance wa ngbà tó wà lórí ilẹ̀ ayé ngbà tí ò tí kú. The same offshore fund ngbà tó wá kú tán wọ́n wá nípò gbogbo owó tó jí ni. So economic performance suggests discipline, not chaos. He was very disciplined about spending and borrowing. Gbogbo ọ̀nà táwọn àjòjì yẹn máa fi control wa kò gbà fún wọn. Òun sọ pé irọ́, we can develop ní láti yáwó sí lọ́wọ́ yín. Irọ́, àwa lè generate owó lórí ilẹ̀ wa. A kò ní láti ṣiṣẹ́ ni, a kò ní láti ṣiṣẹ́ takuntakun ni, a kò ní láti wà discipline ni. Gbogbo ọ̀nà táwọn politicians máa ń gbà jí owó, a kò ní láti dí gbogbo àwọn ọ̀nà yẹn ni. Tá bá lè ṣe yẹn, economy àwa bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí dìde, kò ní ipa wa yáwó lọ́wọ́ yín. Irọ́, a lè generate owó lórí ilẹ̀ wa. A kò ní láti dá gbogbo ọ̀nà sí owó máa ń gbà leak jáde yẹn. A kò ní láti dí gbogbo ibẹ̀ ni nǹkan tó ṣe nìyẹn. ìyẹn wà more important ju pé leaders tí ò kí ń gbẹ̀mí àwọn tó bá ti jalè àbí ẹ̀mí àwọn politicians tó bá ti ṣàìdá kó má dà fẹ́mi àwọn politicians tó ń jalè tó ń dalẹ̀ wá rú kó má dà fún wọn so we want a leader that won't be able to put the hammer down when he needs to. We want a leader that won't be able to stop the corruption. Is that what we need? Leader to máa gbà for everybody, to máa tẹríba for everybody. Tí ò ní jà, tí ò ní enemy, tí ò ní kankan. Is that what we want then? I don't think that's the kind of leader that we need. A máa need àwọn leaders tó yẹ pé tó bá ti mú àwọn wèrè tán àwọn terrorists lórí ilẹ̀ wa wọn ò bí da kó sọ pé òun fẹ́ fi wọ́n sẹ́wọ̀n àbọ̀ òun fẹ́ execute wọn ò bí da torí pé àwọn tó ń control ilẹ̀ wa àwọn tó ń control ìlú wa náà ló ń kó àwọn terrorists yẹn ló ń kó àwọn bandits yẹn kọ́ ló máa ṣe gbogbo àwọn kinní yẹn náà. The president wa mú wa ní pé okay we're going to rehabilitate them ẹ fi pé àwọn ló make decision yẹn ni. Tọ̀rọ̀ mọ̀ pé àwọn táwọn jẹ lówó ló ń fi àwọn bandits yẹn síbẹ̀ lẹ́nu ń bẹ̀ so we cannot do anything a máa ṣe release wọn náà ni tá a bá mú wọn a sì máa release wọn náà ni torí àwọn lẹ́nu ń bẹ̀ náà nígbà tá a jẹ gbèsè báyìí àwọn tó ní kéka àwọn bandits yẹn máa ṣe àwọn iṣẹ́ fún wọn ni wọ́n control gbogbo kinní yẹn náà so àwọn ò lẹ́nu ń bẹ̀ so tá a bá mú àwọn bandits yẹn a máa ní láti dá wọn padà náà ni náà. Ṣé kò yé yín ni ẹ̀rí àárí bó ṣe ń lọ ni? Okay, so Tabawo from a different angle. Economic performance suggests discipline. Yes, Nigeria was a very disciplined country under Abacha. Torí ìwọ tó bá ṣe wọ́nranwọ̀nran. Western framing may have distorted his posthumous legacy. Yes, that's what the data is showing. Could be a case of economic nationalism. He was an economic nationalist. He was a Gaddafi. He was a Traore in his principles and his policies. And when African leaders come up with that kind of with those kind of policies, it starts clashing with global power dynamics. Torí àwọn wèrè ò fẹ́ ká dìde. Ó fẹ́ ká ní lọ síwájú. Ó fẹ́ ká wà lábẹ́ ẹsẹ̀ wọn forever ni. Rí kan tó ń bá Traore fà ni kálá àwọn pípù yẹn àwọn òyìnbó yẹn kálá wà ìlọsíwájú wá fún wa ṣé kò yẹ kó máa support Traore sí ṣé kò yẹ kó máa sọ pé yes this is a real African leader all African leaders should be like him. Nípa àwọn tó bá ń ṣe nǹkan àìdá tó bá ń kówó wa jẹ tó bá ń kó fáwọn tó ti yẹ yín làwọn yẹn máa ń applaud ni but us as citizens we have to wake up to that. Tó ti yẹ yín. We have to wake up to that. So this is my final reflection. What if Abacha wasn't just a thief, but a man trying to outplay a rigged or corrupted, a deceptive global system? Just offering an alternative perspective. Okay? What if nǹkan tó yẹ Traore ṣe ń sìn yẹn lòun náà ń try láti ṣe ń gbà yẹn? Gbogbo wa la máa ń praise Traore a máa praise nígbà Traore wọlé àwọn politicians sọ pé àwọn ló ń ta ilẹ̀ wọn fún France ló ń ta gbogbo àwọn cobalt wọn fún France lọ wo nǹkan tó ṣe fún wọn ni lọ wo nǹkan tí Traore fojú àwọn wèrè yẹn rí tí France wá ń bẹ̀ pé kó jọ kó release àwọn leaders yẹn tó lóun ò release wọn ò pa àwọn ilé tó ti ń talẹ̀ àwọn ló ń talẹ̀ wa àwọn ló ń dalẹ̀ wa now. So all of us that we are saying, oh yeah, Traore is great. We forget that before Traore, there was Abacha. We forget. Everybody's supporting Traore today, but if you go and look at his policies and look at what Abacha was doing, looking at the data, not the narrative, not the propaganda, you are going to see a lot of similarities. So what does that tell us then? Then we have to ask ourselves, ṣé nǹkan tó sọ pé bàbá yìí ṣé bọ́ ṣe pàtàn Ìdí Àmín táwa mọ̀ léni pé àṣírí ọlọ́pàá mọ́ Ìdí Àmín àṣé kò ń ṣèyàn tó ń jẹ èèyàn àṣé òun náà ń jà fún lu ẹ̀ ni àṣé òun náà ń try láti gba ilẹ̀ ẹ̀ kúrò nínú ìgbèkùn ni he was a freedom fighter for his own country as well. He was fighting for his own country as well. When we finally learned about the true history of Idi Amin, then we were saying, oh wow, it was a propaganda all along. Everything they said about him was actually lies. I only found out about that last year. Because even I was believing the narratives, the propaganda. I didn't even know was propaganda on the Idi Amin until I started doing the research, until we started seeing some videos coming up on social media. Then I started looking into it a bit more. I'm like, wow, irú leaders tá a need nìyẹn. Ẹ̀dẹ̀ rí irọ́ tó pa mọ́ bàbá yẹn, so nǹkan tó jẹ́ kí n lọ ṣèwádìí nípa Abacha náà nìyẹn. So, you see, time has judged him as a villain. Torí àwọn propaganda, gbogbo àwọn narratives yẹn. So ti yé yín, but history might eventually see him as a complex nationalist leader caught in a larger geopolitical game. So ti yé yín, in the long term, I'ma wake up lọ́jọ́ kan, I'ma realize torí ẹni tó bá tiẹ̀ sọ fún pé ṣe mọ̀ pọ́ndà Abacha, he was able to get the naira to 22 naira for a dollar. Did you know that? Most people don't know that. And these things are never publicized. So ti yé àwọn wèrè tó wọlé lẹ́yìn ẹ̀ tó tún wá da náírà wá rú, tó wá ba náírà wá jẹ́, tí wọ́n fọ́ gbogbo foreign reserves tata ti nílẹ̀, tí wọ́n ba economy jẹ́. Àwọn la máa ń praise as good leaders today now. Àwọn la ń praise now. So as citizens, we have to wake up. We cannot allow people to pick our friends for us, to people to select our heroes for us. Irọ́, àwa la máa sọ pé economic factors la fi máa ń judge ẹni tó bá ṣe dáadáa fún wa. Kò ń ṣe pé toró jẹ́ Yorùbá, or because it's Igbo, or because it's Hausa. We don't care about all that things. Because it's Muslim, because it's Christian. We don't care about all that nonsense. We care about economic growth. We care about economic factors. We care about the value of naira. We care about foreign reserves. Okay? We care about not borrowing more money and putting us in more debt. Those are the only things that we use. Those are the only factors that we use to determine who has been a good leader or not. That's what we care about. So we have to wake up as citizens. We have to be more economically mature. We have to be more politically mature, so that we can judge our leaders before and after. Before we elect them and we vote for them, we judge them based on economic policies. And after they leave, we judge them based on economic policies. That's how we know who has really served us and who has been pretending and destroying us. Okay? So then the question, what if Abacha was building a secret sovereign fund? I've already talked about that. Okay? So I think that might be a duplication. And so basically, in conclusion, Abacha stashed billions abroad, documented, but they were lying to us about the purpose of it. The same billions with which our foreign reserves was being ranked as positive is the same billions. No, later, but later weaponized with false narratives. Okay? So say, what if, was it all for personal gain? If it was for personal gain, then Nigeria's economic ranking would not have been used based on somebody's personal funds. So say, kò ní jẹ́ pé owó yẹn náà ló máa fi máa rate economy wá pé economy wá da, ìpè currency wá da. So say, nǹkan tí mo ń sọ. So what is was all for personal gain? No, not conclusively proven. But if you go with the narrative, they're saying like it's like a conclusion, like definitely, like they have irrefutable fact that he stole all those money. But no, they have not been able to back it up in fact to this day. For those who know how to analyze this information. Torí tó bá sọ sí wọn ní Abacha ti jẹ́ owó gidi kan jẹ́ iye tó jí, but ṣá ti wò rí. Okay, báwo kí ni irú facts wo la máa fi ń determine tó jówó? Torí pé gbogbo country ló ní foreign reserve now, àti pé why tó ṣe jẹ́ pé foreign reserve tẹ́sán pé ó jí òun náà lè fi rank wa 13 sọ pé economy wa da gbà ó ṣe wá jẹ́gbà tó kú ó wá di owó ti ẹnìkan owó tiẹ̀ tó jí fúnra ẹnìkan. Ká ní pé owó tiẹ̀ tó jí fúnra ẹnìkan nífìyẹn judge economy wa nífìyẹn rank performance economy wa now. Ṣe rí pé kí ni narrative yẹn ò wà consistent. Because at the same time, àwọn tó sọ pé jalè náà àwọn náà lọ bá arrange kíní yẹn now. I've already spoken about the Norway. Àwọn náà ní foreign reserves. Ní Switzerland, ní France, ní UK. Àwọn Saudi Arabia náà, àwọn náà ní foreign reserves. Why tó ṣe jẹ́ pé wọ́n sọ pé owó táwọn jí In the world economy, they have to be able to measure your growth. They have to be able to measure the performance and the health of your economy. Baba mi omini is up. We heard what happened to Gaddafi. What happened to Gaddafi answer, but what happened to Abacha as well? You understand? So yeah. So was it embezzlement or economic foresight? I don't think it's embezzlement. Even if we want to go with the narrative of, let's say there was some embezzlement in there because nobody's perfect, right? But it's the kind of but I think the kind of embezzlement which improves our economy, which reduces our debt, which makes our naira competitive on the global market, that's the kind of embezzlement we should all be praying for, right? Bójẹ́ Jésù la máa ń ké pè ní, bójẹ́ Allah ni, bójẹ́ Olódùmarè ni, ó yẹ kí a máa kúnlẹ̀ lórí ojoojúmọ́ ká máa sọ pé we want that kind of embezzlement. Yes, that's the kind of embezzlement we need. That's going to take naira back to $22. You understand? That's going to stop the borrowing and reduce the foreign debt. We should all be getting on our knees every day. If Abacha embezzled money, then we should be begging for that kind of embezzlement. That's what we should all be praying for every day. The kind of embezzlement which increases our foreign reserves, which reduces our debt, our national debt, which also does what? Which makes naira competitive to what? Just 1998. It was $22. I think it was less than that, but somebody said, okay, let's go with that conservative figure. $22 to a naira. That's outstanding, isn't it? Most of us today that we're alive, we don't even think that was possible. But 1998 was only 27 years ago. And look how far we've fallen today. Look how far we've fallen today. We've gone from what? We've gone from, what have we gone from? Where is it? Okay. So we've literally gone from 22 naira to $1 today, in 1998 to what? In 2025, we've got $1,484 to $1. So which economy is better? Which president is better? You tell me. Which policy is better? You tell me. You see, this is why, they say men lie, women lie, but data don't, numbers don't. Okay? But why is his family still fighting for the custody of the money? No. When you're saying he stole the money and you don't return the money and you're lying to everybody, because it's only through that process that they can really prove that he didn't steal the money. If I was his family, I'll be doing that. I'll be saying, yeah, the money that he said he stole, give it back then. If he stole it, and if it's not, if your narrative is that the money is not our economic foreign reserve, and you're saying he stole it, well, give it back then. Give it back. Let's see you give it back to prove that you think. If you really believe that, you genuinely believe that he stole it, then give it back. Let's everybody see that you gave it back. That's the only way they can clear his name. Baba mi ṣe sọ. Ṣé kò yé yín tẹ́mi bá jẹ́ ìran Abacha? Èmi gan because mama sọ nìyẹn now. Tọ́lọ́ ti bá lórúkọ jẹ́ already. So you can't have it both ways. This is the final slide. So what do we have then?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Bami.
You have been hit the nail on the head since you start your program, and you are making a point to somebody that's ready to listen and listen for good. It's a pity whenever you see somebody that has a sense talking, you listen and you make an analysis. You can see that I see you're about to close and I'm very busy this morning. When you see somebody making analysis of a fact, everybody, before a white man can help you, they are ready to destroy you. Many of us that listen to program, whenever you see somebody that is intellectual and intelligent talking, if you don't have an idea of what the person is saying, you don't need to talk, you don't need to argue. all the facts we are saying tonight, nobody we support Abacha personal admissions. But when you're talking of economy planning and the fact, and you are well read, and you have knowledge of what the economy is all about, you appreciate the fucking bastard who had
gbogbo ilé ìjọba pátá bódà pé network yẹn ti ń weak o. gbogbo ilé ẹjọ́ ẹ̀dá kan bá power tap o.
whatever he is, because he killed many of my blood.
àbá mi network yín ò stable gbogbo ilé ẹjọ́ bá power tap o. I think a ti fẹ́ conclude now but àgbọ̀hùn yín o.
But called, which I am 100% Yoruba. I'm not misbreed. So as I'm saying, as I was saying, my brother, Shepherd Tapi mi ń lọ bẹ́ẹ̀ ta.
a ti ń gbọ́ yín padà sí ibà mi.
Mo ń bọ̀, ó ti stable ń sìn sáà.
bẹ́ẹ̀ni ẹ tẹ̀síwájú sà.
Short is stable. So if all of us say Abacha is an evil, we all know it. To my own tribe, Ibo mélòó la Abacha pa? Kápá mélòó ló pa? Kanuri mélòó ni? Gbogbo casualty àwa ni. But we are talking of a nation. He made the nation to be where he repositioned the nation according to our pouch then. That is one. Secondly, I look at one documentary just of recent. What that documentary said. It said, ẹ bá fẹ́ kórí àwọn èèyàn dúdú dàrú, ẹ lọ yá wọn lówó tí wọn ò rí rí. He refused to collect a loan. Gbogbo mo ṣe wà lé àwọn tí mò ń ṣe gbogbo tí mò ń ṣe, mò ń gbọ́ gbogbo tẹ́ ẹ̀ sọ pátápátá torí airport ní mo dùn. So what I'm trying to say is this. Abacha is an evil. We all know that. Eloni Jonathan Yato is on salary. Okonjo-Iweala come to life and say it that upon all the revenue, they are borrowing to pay salary. If I'm mistaken, you can correct me. It's on the public domain.
Well, imagine.
Then Sanusi ní pé ní $20 billion unaccounted for from NNPC. It's on public domain. Must we continue to fool ourselves? I'm not saying this because who is a Yoruba man. I've never eat his fucking one dime before. I have his cousin, his brother, as my personal friend. Personal friend. When I say personal friend, somebody that can enter his room, parlor, and everything. But let's call a spade if you are to move forward. So let's face the reality. Tinubu, your subsidy. Sama continue láti fọjọ́ àrọ́mọdọ́mọ wa yáwó ni. You can see what is going on in Kwara and wherever, Kogi. I told people who care to listen, Kwara, Kogi, and Niger have a boundary. They have abundant mineral resources that can fill the whole Nigeria without touching the oil and gas. They have private airstrip there. My brother, we have private airstrip there. That mini aircraft can land, private jets can land and evacuate gold and other things. It's there, it has been discovered. At a point, I wanted to hide myself, and I said, come on, if I hide myself at the end of the day, I will die one day now. Where can't I go? Because Emir of Ilorin called the governor to order, including all the bastard local government chairman, that Igboho should not enter Kwara. Wọ́n kò ní dá fún ràn ẹ́. Lórí ilẹ̀ bàbá tiẹ̀, okay. Tẹ̀bá ní kájọ ìjìmá ọ̀bẹ, ṣé máa ní kí èmi tí ó jẹ́ pé ìyá mi ilẹ̀ gómìnà náà ti bí ẹ máa ní kí n má wọ̀ bẹ̀ ni? Ṣé ẹ̀yà wèrè ni? We are facing the reality. Say, Lord, Yo, Elédùmarè ò ní gbà ẹ́ lọ́wọ́ wa o. That's all I know.
ẹ ṣeun bá mi.
I don't think you have any benefit from Nigerian government your children doesn't have. But somebody to have now come and say you are not saying no, I will not take that from that person. Because of the time ibi tí mo gbọ́rọ̀ yẹn dé mo ti ń drive nígbà yẹn mo ṣe wọlé ń sìn. Ẹ jẹ́ ká sọ fún Abacha pé ó ṣe ń bi tó ti ṣe. Aburú rẹ̀ pọ̀ fọmọ Yorùbá kóòtù òjíire ni. Níjọ́ tí Tinubu ti jẹ president mi ò benefit one kobo now. But it's my blood, I can't disown him. And I don't believe the host, our brother, our love brother, he does not benefit a dime from him. What are we now talking about? Etí mo mọ̀ ni pé yóò bí akọ, yóò bí abo, ìkan ni yóò bí o. Yorùbá bá dẹ̀ rán yẹn ṣé ó dùn mí pé mi ò bá àwọn bàbá wa bíbá atamátà sí à ń kó. Wọ́n ní ẹja ní àbákan pípọ̀ ọmọ Yorùbá wo ló lè sọ̀túnmọ̀ ẹ̀. Ọ̀rọ̀ Nàìjíríà bàbá wa kan wà kíní kan justice for Yorùbá àbí nǹkan wọ́n invite mi lọ program kan ní ọ̀sán yìí gbogbo àyẹn náà mo yìí busy mi mọ̀ pé ní ìnira ẹ̀ but n tó ń sọ mẹ́mi lè dá wọn lóhùn. Àwọn South Africa tó jáwà lọ lùràn lọ́wọ́ àwa lólùgbàálẹ̀ wọ́n nẹ́nu láti insult wa. Igbo character and different towards financial wisdom, financial activities, and kind of material things is quite different for Yoruba. We all know that. Hausa, Fulani, their own is this. Go and marry 10 wives and have 100 children. It's none of their business. So that they can use your children for election to achieve your population aimed. It's quite different. But Yoruba, ìran yín ní bímọ tí ò ní bà ló kọjẹ́. That one alone is a pride for you. Àwa ní Tinubu ṣe kinní kan. Ó dá nìran bàbá ẹni tó bá ń condemn policy tó ṣe ṣó fẹ́ fọ Yorùbá ju Igbo lọ ni. Ṣó fẹ́ fọ Igbo ju Hausa lọ ni. Ṣó fẹ́ fọ Hausa fún Fulani lọ ni. Abacha is one of the best government to help this country. Mi ò sọ atrocity ẹ o.
100%.
In terms of killing and others.
You're going to have to crack
Me, ó dùn mí pé pé mo kàwé ni àìkàwé yẹn náà ni mo dùn mí ṣe lord àìkàwé yẹn nìkan náà ni pé mo kàwé ni.
ẹ̀yin professor ẹ fi pé àmọ́ ni.
So when you are talking when you see there was a day something happened when the Kwara South which is my mother lineage side when it happened program was going on here and there they told they come out and talk people were calling me governor is going to arrest you this and this money tó bá bí Abrahamani tó bá bí ọ̀dà wa mú mi ìta burú tó ṣẹlẹ̀ lórúkọ bàbá ẹ̀ ló fẹ́ ṣẹlẹ̀ lórúkọ tiẹ̀ náà because his father defended the Fulani that's why he didn't have Oba in terms of arbitration then judicial process will have two Oba. No, one Oba, one Emir. Because Emir is never an Oba in Ilorin. You can't be Emir when it's not, that land does not belong to Fulani. Does not belong to Hausas. It belongs to Kootu Ojire. It belongs to Oromiyo. Shari, we have a long way to go. Is Abacha a Kano man? He's never a Kano man. He's a Kanuri man with tribal mark. Without a tribal mark, the man so ronsing. Anybody, the man so they lose it, but one more calling me. Abacha is a Kanuri man, for God's sake. Let's call a spade a spade. They destroyed Libya through that. They want marginalize the brain and want Libya. Libya gbádùn dollar ni.
Exactly.
Wọ́n lè gbádùn in the next 150 years. Wọ́n lè recover nǹkan tó ti lose. I'm an engineer by training. I'm a measurement and instrumentation engineer. I was once in that place, sponsored, not personal, on my personal trip by SGS Special Service Nigeria Limited. I do a calibration, measurement, and instrumentation over there. They don't buy water. They don't pay for light. They don't buy water in that country. They don't pay for light. In country, World Bank àti IMF ò defend here. Who are the IMF? Who are the World Bank? God
the
bless
world government.
You, my brother. Àwọn European American. Tó máa padà jẹ́ ká gbẹ̀yìn ayé wọn. Ẹnìkan ní ṣe bí mo ẹnìkan ní ebi Nàìjíríà mo wà mo ní ṣe ọlọ́pàá ti fẹ́ close ìjàre say lord mo tún ní say lord bàbá mi ní tí mo mọ̀ ni pé ìgbà ni wọ́n pa ẹnìkan ń pa àwòṣá ajá àsìpa òwe lọ bravo àsìpa òwe ni pé ajá tó bá pa líìlí ẹnu rẹ̀ ó ṣẹ̀jẹ̀ tí kòkó bá pa líìlí ẹnu rẹ̀ ó ṣẹ̀jẹ̀ lẹ́sẹ̀ protest wà ó kí n má làbújá kí n má ìmúlẹ̀ ẹ̀ sí èrè ṣé mo jẹ ẹni tí sòwò rẹ̀ ó dènà tí sòwò rẹ̀ yóò bá yọ máa lè BRT that was burnt brand new on use in Lagos State on instruction of Nnamdi Kanu is over 500 brand new which I have the proof and evidence and documentation assessment report. Why will you destroy my fatherland? You now say I should support you. I bet you just take to support Yoruba ni. And you know you are in Abuja now, you are doing rubbish over there. All in the name you want politics, you want fame. And we all know who you are working for. We all know the lady you are sending to Sarah cameraman, all the atrocity these people commit that they used to pay you money. If you love your family, so worry, I think I will come on live. Don't let me say it on your platform, my brother. Let me carry my cross. God bless you. We love having, let me say, I and my family will love you. I let will continue blessing you more and more. Thank you very much for your understanding.
So yeah, thank you so much. You
are not looking for somebody favor. You are not looking for somebody favor. That's why you are saying the truth, sir. Thank you, sir.
So yeah, thank you everybody. Unfortunately, the program it's a short one today. It's a short one today, but actually revisit me. But the full video is going to be posted on our YouTube channel on Yoruba Ronu Publishing. Yoruba Ronu Publishing, the full video will be posted in there. So that so maybe we'll come back later in the week as well as a review. But everybody bá ti lọ catch up pẹ̀lú video yẹn, so màá post ẹ̀ lálẹ́ yìí lágbára Èdùmàrè ẹ lè wò lórí ibẹ̀. So maybe it's a topic that people would like to make some further contributions on. Maybe we may revisit it the next time. But torí appointment kan mi máa ní láti sáré bọ́lẹ̀. Mo ṣe bá Júnilọ́ mo ṣe bá fún gbogbo ẹ̀yin bàbá wa ẹ̀yin ìyá wa tẹ́ bá wà lórí ètò nípa General Sani Abacha ni a ti ṣe ètò títò ní o torí pé ní inú ìwádìí ó fi hàn wípé narrative tó ń sọ fún wa nípa bàbá yẹn kò ń ṣe gbogbo ẹ̀ lórí bẹ́ẹ̀ there are some factors some things which he did well, which he did admirably, which wasn't which is not coming out in the narrative. So there's a lot of propaganda about the history of General Sani Abacha tí wọ́n sọ fún wa. So gbogbo nǹkan tá máa ń gbọ́ nípa èèyàn àìdáni but tábà lọ wo economy wa nígbà tí Abacha wà ń bẹ ṣé a máa sọ pé èèyàn àìdáni Abacha ni nígbà tó jẹ́ pé a rí bí how much our economy was performing under his policy, under his rulership. So we have to, in order for us to be able to understand the truth, a máa ní láti balance ẹ̀ pẹ̀lú balance gbogbo ẹ̀ pọ̀ kò lè máa sọ pé ẹni àìdá nìkan lásán ni torí pé if you look at the economic data, it tells a completely different story. So nǹkan tá à ń sọ nìyẹn. So I'll go the video àtàwọn data everything I'm going to post it on our YouTube channel lórí Yoruba Ronu Publishing so that gbogbo àwọn tó bá fẹ́ catch up pẹ̀lú information yẹn ẹ lè wò tẹ́lómi dẹ́ wà ní different angle, different perspective. A lè padà wá ní maybe lọ́sẹ̀ yìí later lọ́sẹ̀ yìí ká wá jẹ́ kí gbogbo àwọn tó máa like láti contribute káwọn náà wá fún wa ní perspective tiwọn. Èdùmàrè aṣọ wa jù yẹn lọ. Ẹ ṣeun bàbá mo ṣe bá Júnilọ́ mo try láti gbé yín sókè lẹ́ẹ̀kan mo ò rí yín bẹ̀ again mo ṣe bá Júnilọ́ ẹ ṣeun tẹ́ wà pẹ̀lú wa lónìí a máa rí yín bá ní wáyé tí o lágbára Èdùmàrè. Mo ṣe bá fún gbogbo ẹ̀yin bàbá wa ẹ̀yin ìyá wa tí ẹ bá wa power tap tẹ́ bá wa share tẹ̀dẹ̀ fọwọ́ tẹ ẹ̀bùn fún wa lágbára Èdùmàrè. Ọwọ́ tẹ́ fi tẹ ẹ̀bùn yẹn ẹ fi ka owó ẹ fi ka ọlà lágbára Èdùmàrè. Kò ní tán níbi tẹ́tí mo a máa pọ̀ sí ni ẹ ṣeun. So yeah, thanks everybody for today's contribution. We definitely will be back again. We'll be back again real soon. But I appreciate all your contributions and hope to see you again the next time around. Ẹ ṣé mo ó dàárọ̀ mo kí gbogbo lélẹ̀ kan sí o mo ṣe bá Júnilọ́ o. ẹ ṣeun o, good night.